President Cyril Ramaphosa will mark Women's Day in Richmond. That's in KwaZulu-Natal today. The national event follows several brutal incidents of violence against women across the country in recent months. At the same time, the Gauteng government will lead a walk at the Union buildings. This is where Mbali Thethani is, and you see that picture to her, Karinda Jagmohan in Richmond, and Pelane Phakgadi is on the ground talking to women who are making strides in their chosen fields in terms of careers. Let's start with Karinda Jagmohan. Karinda, good morning to you. The province of KwaZulu-Natal has its own story to tell about women's brutality or women being brutalized. That province, just last week, you were in one area where two girls who were doing their matric were hacked to death by someone known to them. Talk to us about what women in that province are saying on a day like this.
Absolutely. Really, women are living in fear in KwaZulu-Natal. Last week, almost every day, I covered a story where a woman was murdered. On Monday, we saw the murder of Reneilwe Semenya, a student at the University of Technology. She was killed inside a student res. The next day, we heard about the two grade 12 pupils, schoolgirls, who were hacked to death inside the room they were renting close to their home because of school transport in their rural area on the KZN South Coast. And then, of course, we heard the week before that the killings of 3 females from the same family in Pietermaritzburg. They were murdered. This was a 7-year-old girl who was raped, her mother who was murdered, and her grandmother who was also murdered by the same man who was sentenced to life in prison. So women are indeed living in fear, and today we expect the president to speak about that. But of course, there is some positivity to look at in terms of this event. At least you'll see around me, my colleague Lungelo is showing you stalls that have been set up by women in the Richmond area. They've come through to showcase some of what they have put together as a way of emancipating themselves, empowering themselves to move forward. Of course, women empowerment is critical in this time. I'm just going to quickly chat to one of the ladies here. Let me actually bring you closer, ma'am. Cyril, thank you so much for speaking to us. You've got a lovely skincare line here. Tell me, for you, what is the importance of going into business at a young age, 31 years old?
It's important for me because as a woman, I want to be empowered. I want to be able to do things for myself, you know. I think also, you know, sometimes as women, we tend to rely too much on men and all of those things. So we need to stop doing that and really be empowered and do things for ourselves because, like, God blessed us with so much. As women, we are naturals, we multiply, you know.
Was it difficult setting up this business as a woman? What challenges did you have in the industry simply because of your gender?
Wow. I would say that, you know, the support. Sometimes you don't get, people don't see the vision that you have. And then it's a bit difficult because now you don't know who to cry to, you know, but at least when you go to such places like CEDA and NYDA, they listen to you, you know, and they would help you with your business plans and honestly developing your products. Yeah.
Quickly, briefly, tell me about the importance of your skincare line while you have this platform as well.
Oh, wow. So I'm a organic skincare formulator. What we do is we formulate, we manufacture actually your body lotions, your facial serums, like you see here. These are the handcrafted soaps. They're very nourishing for the skin. We use organic ingredients that are not harsh for your skin. So if you want youthful skin that's proper,
that's where you come from.
Perfect.
Final question. You know, the president is coming through to Richmond today. He's going to visit your stalls. If you have a chance to ask him one thing, we're just talking about violence against women at this point, but what is one thing that you would say to him if you had the chance?
Wow. What would I say? Yeah, very much.
What demand you have for him?
Empower women.
Yeah.
That's it. Empower women, because if you empower a woman, a woman multiplies, and a woman is a nurturer, you know. A woman takes care of the household, so empower a woman and the economy will be good, I promise you.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. A young business owner who has her own skincare line formulated. The soap smells great. But her message here is to empower women, she says. If she has a chance to meet the president who's going to be here in the next hour, she wants to tell him to empower women. And of course, we've just spoken about a number of violent incidents against women over the past month, not forgetting what happened in Krugersdorp. And the message from young women here really is if they are empowered, they might be able to increase their own independence, increase safety for themselves at this time when many across the country are worried about the increasing rate of violent crimes, especially against women and children.
Karinda, Jagmohan, let me tell you that the president is an enthusiastic supporter of young people doing things for themselves. So I suspect he might be very proud of that young lady doing business for herself in order to uplift not just herself but the community as well. Let's quickly turn our attention now to Mbali Thethani, who has been in Pretoria for the better part of the morning. Mbali, I see the march is on the go, and I suspect you're going to tell us it's leading to the union buildings, much the same way as in 1956.
That's certainly right, Koli. As you can see just behind me, that this march has already commenced. It commenced from around 10 o'clock this morning. And as you can see, a number of women who have come out and turned out for this march. And you'd remember that a group of over 20,000 South African women marched to the union buildings. They descended upon Church Square and then headed over to the union buildings. But just to give us a bit more insight about this march, I'm going to quickly try and bring in the Gauteng Premier, David Makura, who's leading this march this morning and this walk. Premier, if you can just tell us, you have gathered a number of women here in Pretoria and you are leading this walk to the union building.
Yes, as we know, today is a very important day in the history of our country. It's our National Women's Day. We come to the union buildings to relive what the women in 1956 did when they organized themselves, 20,000 of them, to march here at the seat of government to say these are the demands they want for a future South Africa. On this day, we always take stock of the status and conditions of women in our country, especially those of us who are in government. Later at the government event, this is not a government event, the march is always organized by the ANC Women's League. We join it, and that's why I join it. This is an ANC Women's League organized march, but we will have a government event later where we will be updating the people of our province on what the provincial government working with municipalities are doing to address the pressing issues facing women, including our development, our social and economic development programs, but also the immediate challenges that women face every day. So I will be outlining that in the official program later today at the union buildings. But for now, we are involved. Women face huge challenges. We have gender-based violence and crime in our communities, the intensity and violent nature of this crime. Women bear the brunt of that. The escalating cost of living, women bear the brunt of this. When there are pandemics like COVID-19 and other diseases, the women bear the burden of disease, but also the burden of care when people are sick in communities. So we have programs, we work with organized women in our province to address the development of women, from the girl child, from children, girl child at school, the young women in universities. Our bursary program, 60% of the beneficiaries are women, are young women, and right up to the issues of economic opportunities. But we are really not where we want to be, and we are going to continue to push. The important thing is that we can't work for women without women. Women are in government, they are in the executive, that I have the honor to lead. They must be in business. They must be in the boardroom. They must be in every effort, every societal effort where we are pushing development and transformation. Women have to be at the center of that because they are at the center of our families. They are at the center of our communities. All the efforts, women are always in leading. We were talking yesterday about the township economy. Most of the businesses in our communities are run by women. So our programs must be directed even with the funding, and that's what I'll be talking about today, about what we are doing at the government event.
This Women's Day happens at a time where a number of South Africans and women in Gauteng in particular, quite angry and quite aggrieved of what happened in Krugersdorp in this province. What do you have to say to women who continue to be worried and concerned about their safety?
The incident of the rape, the atrocious incident of the rape of women, the young women in Krugersdorp, is just an indication of the fact that whether it's violent crimes, whether all crime, women are they bear the brunt of all the crimes. So I was in Kagiso on Sunday meeting with the community. That anger that we feel is not only in Kagiso, it's in communities everywhere. You see these women who are here, the anger and the pressure. I want to say to them, they must continue to put pressure on the state institutions to respond, particularly to the crime situation. And I'm joining here this march basically to say it's not an act of solidarity, it's a commitment to commit government in Gauteng that we will be there in every program, every day, 365 days, to address the issues that affect women. We will be there with the women in our province. And we need them to be organized, but we need a responsive state machinery, including the state security organs, need to feel the pressure that the women feel and the people on the ground feel, and their response must be an appropriate response to deal with crime. And I say so knowing that I'm in government. All of us must put pressure, and all of us must not sleep. As long as women are killed, are raped, they bear this brunt of crime, we must not sleep. We must be out there on the ground, working with the police and law enforcement, working with organized women to face this criminality, but also to address socio-economic problems that women face. And that's what we are committing to.
Thank you very much, Premier. I'm just going to ask my colleague just to show you the banners that those who are participating in this march have here. They, men, stand up and protect women and children. Here another one, Women Lives Matter, 365 days. It just shows you that, especially in a time where we've seen what has taken place in Krugersdorp, how important this issue of gender-based violence has become in this country, and how an issue of the safety of women has become very important. But as you heard, this march being done by the ANC Women's League, also coinciding with the program of the Gauteng government that will then proceed at the union buildings, where we'll then see that intergenerational dialogue taking place. But as you can see here, Koli, a number of women participating in this march, but at the same time, there are also men taking a stand and also commemorating and celebrating what the women of 1956 did for this country when they took a stance against those past laws.
Thank you very much. Live for us in Pretoria, and as that march makes its way to the union buildings, looking forward to that intergenerational dialogue that's expected to take place as well post that march. All right, the male-dominated truck driving industry has always been tough for women to crack into. Now, Nayseme Logistics, owned by a woman, Reneilwe Semenya, has been making waves by hiring women as drivers for 33-ton, or should I say for the 33-ton dry bulk tankers. Now, as part of Women's Day celebrations, we visit the logistics company as they celebrate 2 years of existence. Pelane Phakgadi is in Germiston and he joins us live now. Pelane, I know you're about to talk to the owner in a moment, but the trucking industry, as you've mentioned there in that intro for us, it is male dominated, but more so when it comes to the people who actually drive these massive trucks. But this time around, you're going to tell us that it's actually driven by women as well. Tell us more.
Definitely, Toli, and I can tell you that over the last 10 years or so, when you see violent protests where truckers are being, attacked and, of course, being victimized, it has predominantly been women, predominantly been men, and there's been that particular issue around the safety of the truckers. You've seen in the N3, you've seen during the July unrest where trucks have been set alight, some of them, but, of course, that did not deter, of course, Reneilwe Semenya to try and ensure that she goes about ensuring that she realizes a dream of owning this 33-ton trucks and, of course, hiring women as the operators of these very vehicles. A very dominant, male-dominated trucking arena, but of course trying to penetrate it and ensure that she's able to provide the services that her male counterparts are also able to do so. Let me bring her in, Reneilwe Semenya. Thank you very much for joining us, Reneilwe. I'm seeing two beautiful berries just behind you here, and there are more of this, and women at the forefront operating this. And it has not been one thing that when you see on the road, you always see men such as myself driving them. But this time around, you feel that there should be something different and women are the ones operating them.
It is such a pleasure to get this opportunity, but most importantly for us as women in logistics, it's such a pleasure to create opportunity for other women. That is just point number one. We know that employment opportunities in this country is very scarce, and it is our duty for us to create job opportunities. But also in that in that space, we need to bring in other women, not only in the office, but to be the operators, to be at the forefront. As you can understand at a later stage, you will see Nayseme Logistics women that are driving these trucks at long distances. They also do short distances, and we are proud of the achievement that we have realized so far.
Yeah, now talk to me now about, breaking through into this industry. Must have been a difficult experience from just one truck in less than 2 years. You already now have 10.
I must say it really has been a tough journey, but we are standing and we are proud. We started with only one truck at the coal belt, but we've identified a niche in a dry bulk industry where we're saying we need to provide a service in an area that is not so overcrowded or overpopulated. That's where we are occupying the space, and the journey has been fantastic because we started with one truck. We now having 10 trucks, but I must also say that we are now employing 17 employees that are permanent. We can also safe to say that other people are beneficiaries of what we are doing because we do service our trucks, we do procure other services, we also wash our trucks. So you can see that in terms of job creation, it's extending more than 17 people that you see in our team.
Yeah, fascinating. But let's talk now about the safety. I'm sure it's something that also concerns you as an owner when they actually drive these long distances. And one of your provinces, if I remember correctly, KwaZulu-Natal mentioned there that you travel to, and you've seen with the July unrest. I'm sure that's something that may have worried you at some point. But what do you think should be done in the industry in South Africa about the safety of truckers as a whole, and particularly women?
I'm going to break it down in various options or in various areas. When you're talking about truck safety, it talks about the issue about maintenance as a start, because let's not separate issues around safety to other external factors. It is important to maintain the trucks as and when required. It is also important that you stop your truck when it's not fit, because it does not make sense for you to send a truck knowing very well that somebody's life is at risk. So that is just one aspect. But when coming to training of employees, in our case, we enforce training in terms of safety because there are few aspects in terms of advanced driver training. They have been taken through the training to ensure that they upskill, because you can't just be saying I have a Code 14 driver's license, but you don't upskill. But another element in terms of safety is in terms of working at height, because in our case, when you load your product, you have to climb the steps and go up to the tanker at the top to load the product. It is important that our drivers are also equipped. They understand that working at height is very important, and training as such is also being arranged for them to ensure that everyone goes to their families alive. Yeah. Lastly, in terms of the safety on the roads, there are factors that are not in our control, but in cases where we know that there are unrest or there are protests, we simply just park our assets, because it really does not make sense to send men and women out there knowing very well that it's unsafe. It remains a cause for concern for logistics business, because we understand that in trucking is the heartbeat of the country. For any product or any services to be running, it means at some point logistics must take place.
Reneilwe Semenya, a very fascinating industry that you are breaking in there. That's, for, of course, Nayseme Logistics. There are just a few trucks that are just here behind me, but of course, on the other side, we do know that there are quite a number of other trucks. 17 employees that now she has boasted, and of course, just in less than 2 years, and having plans as well as to expand her business. But women in trucking, of course, taking over the center stage here, and even talking about the issue around the safety, although it is still a call for concern, she says, but there's no need to send drivers into hostile environments. Simply park your assets, as you put it. But then, of course, as you're rightfully putting it a little bit earlier on, Xoli, it is an industry that has previously been dominated by men, and the women are trying to find a niche and as well as find ways to ensure that they are able to feed their families.
Pelane, Phakgadi, thank you very much for that lifting conversation you've just had.